Hey guys, welcome back to the Sunbelt Developers Podcast. This is season 2, episode 2. I'm here with Travis Garland at Portman.
Thank you.
Really excited to have you. You know, we have a lot of I call them back nine people that are, known historically for, helping build our city. You're kind of in that like mighty middle, kind of like Herbert. So I'm really excited
to say the front nine, man. I guess you just aged me out. Huh?
You're okay, front nine, whichever hole we'll talk about. But I'm really excited to get your take. I've seen you on panels and stuff. I know we've gotten breakfast a couple times, and I think you always have a fresh perspective on.
Happy to be here.
Yeah, what's happening. So, can we just dive in? Like, who's Travis? I know you were in brokerage for a little bit, but maybe we go
on the broker side.
Well, good. Well, let's back up to like. Are you from Atlanta? Like,
I grew up in Gainesville, so an hour north of Atlanta. So
Very
Atlanta area native.
Cool.
Yeah,
I was born in Gainesville, but never really lived there. Yeah, my dad's from Winder. Grew up on a chicken farm.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's up there. It is a drive.
Yeah.
You still have family up there?
My parents are still up there.
Okay.
Yeah. So we love it. It's a great little town.
Good.
Yeah.
When did you venture to big old city?
So I graduated from Georgia 2003.
Okay.
I think the background to get to real estate, I think I always knew I wanted to be in real estate from time I can remember, right? So I was actually a real estate major in college, which is really kind of a finance major, but it's more common now than it was then. I went to one of my professors and I said, "Hey, what should I do? Like you've had me for a few years now. You see kind of skill set." And he said, "You should be a broker." And I'm like, "All right, that's it." I don't know that I'd really put thought into it at all, and kind of went down that path. 2003 was a little bit coming out of the .com bust, so the market was tough. I actually had taken a job with a group in Tampa, and I was going to move to Tampa and do brokerage there. And after school, I wasn't going to move down there till the fall. And so that summer, I think I had a recognition of like how hard brokerage is to start off with at 22, especially moving to a new city and having no income. And during that time, I said, well, maybe I need to rethink brokerage. And I had done an internship in college with a friend who was a developer, and he called and said, "Hey, one of my really good friends, and this guy just had a really interesting background, owns a sports marketing company, and this guy was actually integral in after the Cleveland Browns went to Baltimore, was sold to Baltimore. This guy that owned the sports marketing company was really kind of a tip of the spear in bringing Cleveland back to Cleveland. So he said he needs somebody to work for 6 months and you travel the country. And I said, I'm kind of at a loss right now. What I'm going to do, I'll go do that. So I spent 6 months working for him, traveling the country. It was a great experience. And then when I came back, I said, okay, now I want to get into real estate. And somebody had met along the way, local guy, kind of one-man shop, but was an affiliate partner. Again, I don't know if this is the right path, but it was the path I took. I started working with him. And I say that just from a standpoint, it was a great experience. Me and him, small shop, super gritty on getting stuff done, mostly on the tenant rep side, but had some property management. I think I got a little bit of exposure to a lot. So did that for several years. So that would have been 2000, call it probably mid-4.
Okay. This was in Atlanta?
In Atlanta.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you ever run across Frank Simpson or the Norton guys?
Yeah.
Being from Gainesville? I was curious
of course.
if you ever interviewed with them or something.
No, I didn't. I always wanted to be in Atlanta.
Yeah. Okay.
To get to Atlanta. So for me, again, right or wrong, I think my decision was, here's an opportunity. It gets me to Atlanta. It gets my foot in the door. Let's kind of see where this goes. So we worked together for several years. Obviously 2008 hits, right? Because it was just two of us. We were small and nimble and could survive. I probably around 2008, 2009, after I'd had a few years, I really started recognizing like, I don't want to be on the brokerage side. I really wanted to be ultimately on the development side, but I think just during that time, it was more just on the ownership side. And a lot of things probably happen through luck and, who you meet and relationships you build along the way. So a good friend of mine who I'd met being in Atlanta, who's still a good friend of mine, who worked at Portman, who still works at Portman, in 2011, he and I were talking, and we'll get a little bit of the Portman background, but Portman had been overseas really for a long time.
Yeah, they were big in China.
Big in China, which I can give some of that story. He called and said, "Hey, and he'd actually worked in China. He took a job with Portman. I was school. He's my age. He took a job in Portman and was actually working in Shanghai. He was moving back because the company had started to refocus on the U.S. And so he called and said, hey, we're going to be refocused on the U.S. Development. This is 2011. The cycle didn't really kick off then. I don't know where it's going to go, but in the meantime, Brian Hogue, who is an Atlanta icon of kind of office, was going to be retiring out of what he had done for Portman, which was leasing SunTrust Plaza at the time downtown. And so Charles said, we're going to interview somebody to handle the leasing side of it and see where it goes on the development side. So I really joined Portman in 2011 through a lens of hopefully this grows into development. But really on the leasing side still, leasing SunTrust Plaza.
Yeah. And your name was on that building till only a couple of years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, probably was. I mean, I probably completely got out of that several years ago. There wasn't much leasing there, but we were still technically on it. Yeah. Because the building's been almost 100% leased for a long time because of the bank.
Yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get in, you're starting to do some leasing.
Yeah.
And
then the development business just kind of started growing. I mean, we kind of organically a little bit. I mean, I think once I was there, had the opportunity to then sit alongside people that were in development, to really kind of start to understand that business and watch that business. And we kind of really grew it together. I mean, we kind of think of the team that was, late 2000s, that really started to refocus back on the U.S. we were standing on the shoulders of giants as we did it, but, and an unbelievable reputation and doors open because of the reputation, but really starting in, probably 2012 is when we started feeling things move a little bit back to development, kind of in the Southeast. We were Atlanta, really kind of Charlotte initially. That's really when we started to build what we've done over the last 10 years.
Yeah. What were some of those early projects that were kind of first movers outside of the GSE?
So Atlanta was probably a little bit later to recover than some other cities. The first project in Atlanta, which was one of the first projects we did, was 230 Peachtree. So that was actually, I think that was Mr. Portman's first office building as a part of Peachtree Center.
Yeah.
Mr. Portman was still very involved at that point in time. So we bought that building back out. I think it was foreclosed on probably from a servicer, bought it, turned the bottom third of it into a Hotel Indigo, and then the top 2/3 are office, which we still own. So that was kind of the first project, which was a redevelopment project. And then around the same time, we had an opportunity to do a project in Denver on the backside of Union Station, which was, this is unbelievable to kind of, you look at a picture now of what Union Station was. So Union Station, the station itself, this was a big public-private kind of infrastructure to get, a new part of the city, Lodo, but on the backside of Union Station, kind of redeveloped. And so we showed up and Union Station was about to be done and reopened. And it was just, I don't know how many blocks, probably 15 city blocks that were just dirt for the most part. There were a couple of projects under construction. So we had the opportunity to be one of the first ones there. And completed the projects called Union Tower West, which was 100,000 feet of office and 180 key hotel, kind of vertically mixed use. So both of those we started in 2014, 2015, and then the Portman organization and family owned the Westin in downtown Charlotte. And adjacent to the Westin was a parking garage. It was kind of a freestanding parking garage that there were previous plans to develop on top of. It was actually going to be a condo building, kind of pre-recession. And so that didn't work, obviously coming out of the recession, in Charlotte. So we started looking at, all right, let's go office. We think now is the time to go office. So that was really kind of our first of scale office development, which would have been 2000. Probably started that in late 15 or 16.
Okay.
It's 370,000 feet on top of a parking garage.
Cool. That's not the one that we were looking at a minute ago?
It was up there.
On the rail?
We weren't pulling that up. No, and then
that was later.
We've been very involved in Charlotte, really for a long time because of the Westin, but call it the last 10 years, we've been super involved kind of on that corridor of development.
Cool. Okay. So you're starting to get your development feet. I'm curious, I'm in leasing.
Yeah.
You went from leasing to development, like from a skill set standpoint. I mean, you were just kind of learning by osmosis, just being around it, and like, I mean, you kind of had a finance background, so you get some of the underwriting.
Actually, again, and we've done this. We did this at breakfast. Like what do you tell people? The truth of it is, I think one of the interesting things about real estate is the variety of background that people have. So I don't know that there is a right path on where you end up. It's kind of an incredibly diverse, group. I think a leasing background is incredible because you've been around, you get reps of deals, right? And sitting across the table from people and understanding, sometimes what makes people tick. I think that's an incredible skill set that just from a cadence, if deal flow and execution of deals kind of makes you sharper in what you do, the brokerage side of it, you get more deal flow than you do on the development side of it. Right? I mean, if we've done 10 projects in 10 years on a lease standpoint, from a broker standpoint, you could do 10 a month. And so that was really, I think, very helpful in what I'm doing now. Where I started is just understanding that and kind of having those reps of just deals.
Cool. Okay. So doing some stuff in Charlotte. Dallas was kind of cooking then too.
Dallas was later. So really kind of the progression was Atlanta, Denver. Denver ended up being kind of a one deal, type project or city. And we'd go back to Denver but by the time we exited that, we were busy in other places. Charlotte, probably Nashville may have been next, and then Dallas. And so now we're really on the office and residential, and kind of call that mixed use, to a certain extent, really focused kind of Sunbelt today, which stretches over into Texas. And then our industrial business, it has a lot of focus in the same areas, but they've got some focus. They've got some assets in the Northeast. And then our hotel business is a little bit all over.
Hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank our sponsors for today. Our main sponsor is SHR, or Songy Highroads. David Songy was one of our guests a couple months ago and really brought an incredible story about his career. Songy Highroads is a commercial real estate development company that has done almost $3 billion in developments. A couple projects that you might know here in Atlanta is the Hyatt Centric right behind Lenox Mall. There's also the Howell, which is a brand new apartment complex. And the most exciting project that they're working on is the expansion to the Savannah Convention Center. We're really excited to go down there probably early next year to show you guys what's going on, but they've broken ground. It's almost a $400 million project. It's been in the works for almost 10 years and very excited. So if you have any development opportunities or you want to learn more about them, please visit songyhighroads.com. Again, that's songyhighroads.com. Now back to the show. Okay, can we jump back? You said Portman. So do you know Lel Barnes?
The name.
Okay.
Yes.
Shout out Lel. Lel lived over in China for a long time. Came back. I think he saw one of my posts on LinkedIn and reached out. We talked for like an hour one day. He had all sorts of stories and whatnot. But I'd heard when the business climate wasn't as opportunistic, or it had just kind of shifted over there. And I mean, do you know the numbers on how many projects y'all did over there?
Massive amount. I don't know the numbers. Yeah. I'll give you that. I mean, a little bit of what had happened was, so Portman, I think was the second U.S. company there in China.
Yeah.
And so when that business went, and so by the way, I mean, this is hard to kind of grasp now, seeing what China looked like, because this would have been like late 70s, early 80s, right? There were no high rises. There was no type of density that was in China when it opened. And so Portman was really kind of a first mover in that space, right? Both on the architectural and the development side.
Yeah.
In fact, we were just telling the story the other day. We had a group of investors in from Japan, and Kajima was the contractor, which is a Japanese contractor. We ended up, and I was in the meeting, and John Portman IV was telling the story. They ended up being a part of kind of the ownership and deal team early in China, because there weren't even Chinese contractors that knew how to build anything high rise. So we had to bring somebody in from Japan to do that. But so Portman was early in China. Really, as things start going, I mean, they start going quick, right? And was there for really, it ended up being about 30 years. But I would say kind of early 2000s, a decision was made that the advantages that were there early, which were kind of knowledge and frankly capital to a certain extent too, in the early 2000s, we didn't have the transfer of knowledge to domestic developers. Chinese domestic developers had occurred. They didn't need our capital, right, anymore because there was plenty of Chinese capital, domestic capital. So really, what was an advantage early and had a 20-year run of just an unbelievable amount of success there. By the early 2000s, you had different risks, right?
Yeah.
The transfer of knowledge had occurred. You had domestic capital you were competing with. And so it almost became hard to compete because our cost of capital was inherently higher because we had to layer on exchange rate risk and governmental risk and just different layers of risk, right?
Yeah.
And so the decision was made at that point in time. And really also, unless you're kind of an asset allocator from an investment perspective, it was hard to stretch kind of a development balance sheet to be spread out that much internationally. And so that was around the time that Ambarish, is our CEO, who joined in the mid 2000s, kind of joined to say, we think we should refocus back on the U.S. That was probably actually pre-recession, right? As the decision was made to do that, it just took longer because then the recession hits. And so by the time you start to get everything kind of in motion back in the U.S., you're kind of coming out of the recession side. But unbelievably successful in China, both on the development side and on the architectural side. I'll give you those numbers. Actually, I just heard John say these the other day in the meeting.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I know, like Peachtree Center is a big, multi-million square. I know y'all put like a bigger complex over there. It was like similar, like multiple towers.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying. When you see these cities pop up, I mean, it's like nothing, and then like 3 years later, it's like a city.
Yeah, and Shanghai has like 7 ring roads or something.
Yeah.
Big it's become.
It's incredible. I feel so honored to be there. And
did you travel over there?
I never did. No, because by the time I joined, we were kind of back focused. But Mr. Portman passed away in 2018, so I had several years with him. It was amazing. I mean, just the ability to kind of be in that office when it wasn't just him, but some of his advisors were around to just soak all that in.
Yeah.
I think it was unique ability as we were coming back to the U.S. focused, right? The team that we kind of talked about, we had this unbelievable amount of knowledge and experience around us that we could all kind of soak in and learn from.
Sure.
Which I think was, a little bit of the groundwork of what we've been able to do the last decade.
Yeah. How involved was John through the later years? I know some people work till the day they die. I guess he was one of them.
He was amazing.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, he was a 6-day-a-week guy, till the end. 230 Peachtree. I mean, that was his baby, right?
Yeah, the restaurant.
All of the restaurant, there's almost some like greatest hits, right? There's this beautiful staircase that's in the building he had used, some of the light fixtures. I mean, he was truly Renaissance man, right? I mean, everybody knows him from a developer perspective, architect perspective, but like artists, which people kind of know, but not really, right? I mean, if you know, but that doesn't automatically kind of transition to him. But like a lot of the furniture he was designing.
Yeah. And his house, the Sea Island house, just sold for record numbers. Which I like looking at that. I was so curious about the maintenance cost to keep it's like full of plants and like the structures are right.
Yeah. So it's a commercial structure.
Yeah.
Right.
Right. It looks like I think we were just looking at a hotel lobby that's you live in, but
It's and the house here too, right? So
I haven't seen that.
It's very similar. I mean, as far as the water that's inside, and
a Renaissance man.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah. Okay, so I always like asking this question. Kind of like what was the first kind of breakout project for you that I know? Like we had Aaron Keel on here. He's like 3 lines with his baby, and like I don't know if there's one that maybe stands out to you of like.
So when they all stand out.
Well, yeah.
I don't know. So I mean, I think the first kind of really big scale probably was 615 South College for me, which was, what was 3 Alliance timing? Do you remember?
2017.
Talk about it. So we were about the same time.
Okay.
We were doing that in Charlotte when Chris was doing that down here. Very similar time frames actually, because I remember talking to Chris about things at the time.
I'll bring it up.
Yeah. I think that to me, So that was after we had started Union Tower West. It was after we had started 230, which I had pieces of and parts in.
South, is this the right?
615 South College. That I had parts and pieces in. 615 was really the first one where I probably had more input than I did previously. That was a little bit more, kind of tip of the spear on some of this stuff. So it's that, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so there's a parking garage that existed. The Westin existed, and so we kind of had to build on top of the parking garage. And so when Chris would talk about, I'm sure Chris talked about, because he was just in our office, and I've heard him say this multiple times. This was a first mover, right? We were a first mover here, coming out of the recession, and this was one where I think because it was truly ground up office, right? Like where I could put my thumbprint on this. This was probably the first one of scale and we were incredibly successful here. Financially, leasing, great outcome.
Yeah. What's the total size? Like
this is 375,000 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. So we sold this to CBREI, who still owns it today. I'm gonna say we sold this in 18, probably 18, maybe early 19. I'd have to go back and think, but generally that's kind of where it is. And the family still owns the Westin next door. So it's still something that it was important.
Yeah.
And this was actually an architect, or the building. This was a building that Portman and Associates was the architect on. And so they were still around at that time. And so it was just an unbelievable amount of great collaboration. We shared an office space with architecture group, where we could really go push and pull on things together. So this was a lot of fun. This is probably, this is the first one. I don't know that it's the most important, but this is the first one that I was like, this is unbelievable.
A special project. Yeah. Did you have any influence on these balcony cutouts?
I did. Yeah. Okay. And this was early, right? From a design perspective, this was right when people started using balconies.
Yeah. And carve out, I know there's some that'll punch through windows and bring balconies into buildings.
And this was by the way, nobody knew if you could actually charge for balconies or not.
And is this rentable? I know
we did not rent it.
Okay.
We did not treat this as rentable because nobody else was really doing this yet, that you didn't have the example to say, can you do this or not?
Hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank our sponsors for today's episode. This episode is brought to you by Corporate Environments, Georgia's leading full-service commercial furniture and workplace solutions partner. Whether you're building out Class A offices, retrofitting co-working space, or planning large-scale tenant improvements, Corporate Environments brings deep expertise in future design and specification, architectural solutions, project management, delivery and installation, and more. They're known for delivering turnkey solutions that help your properties stand out and your client's space work better. Plus, as a certified minority-owned business, they bring a fresh, diversity-driven perspective to every project, something that resonates in today's market. To elevate your next interior build-out or FF&E plan, reach out to Corporate Environments. They have a location here in Atlanta and Savannah, and you can learn more at corporateenvironments.com. Let their team turn your vision into impactful spaces. So as a tenant, that's exclusive balcony, or are those common? Or
they are, yeah. Each one of those 4 balconies on this building. Each one of those balconies.
There's the other one.
Yeah, which is amazing. Each one of those balconies is occupied by a full floor tenant. Some of those are multiple floor tenants. So anyway, so that may be the first one, and then as we moved out of this kind of into Atlanta. The first big one in Atlanta, I think, really from a team perspective, and a lot of special is CODA, and then kind of Tech Square in general.
Yeah.
And I think CODA was special and unique for a lot of purposes beyond just me. I think for the whole team. That building was actually the last building that Mr. Portman was the architect of record on.
Wow. I'll bring it up.
Yeah, and so this would have been. We got into that. I want to say that probably started the end of 14, really kind of ran hard in 2015 from a process perspective. And then we ended up breaking ground on that in 2016.
Okay. It's a very unique building.
Very unique building.
The floor plan,
Yeah.
like everything. I know there's no core in these wings here, so it's like just kind of unencumbered.
Unencumbered.
It's beautiful. And the spiral staircase.
And spiral staircase.
Got a data center.
Yeah, and this was like, again, I think some of this magic that exists in the collaboration that is real estate development is this ability to really like push and pull things and try things. And I think one of the things that I don't want to say makes us different. I just think one of the things that we're good at is listening. And so we listened very intently as to what Georgia Tech was trying to accomplish in this. Probably because of it being 2000 into 2014, beginning of 2015, so the world wasn't great yet. When Georgia Tech first sent this RFQ out, whatever they sent out originally, I think it was something like 52 groups that responded.
Wow.
And it came down to a competition between us and a team that was Cousins and Hines. And so, I mean, that was kind of the caliber by which we were competing with.
And Cousin NCR's over here.
Yeah.
Oh, did Cousins develop this, or
they did develop it, but this was a little bit more of a kind of fee. NCR had made the move to go purchase and then brought Cousins in. I think NCR had actually already bought this. That project hadn't started yet. I don't think that project had started.
I was curious if that was kind of on the heels of this, or
no. And so this for us was, really, and again, special on a lot of fronts, but complicated, unbelievably complicated.
There's a data center.
There's a data center, which is this structure here that we don't have any ownership on.
Okay.
But I mean, this took kind of every one of us. Brees was very involved, very, very involved. John Ford was very involved. I mean, the team in totality was just unbelievably involved. This is a ground lease. It's got lots of complications that we've actually taught classes at Georgia Tech about because of the structure of how we had to put all this together. So I think winning it and starting it was something that we all felt great kind of happiness over and pride over. But I think what's come out of that for us, and this is a lot of, I think one of the cool things about development is you can see the impact. Like there's a physical view of the impact you have on a city, right? And so, kind of what came out of CODA is a ripple that I don't know that even the city or state knows the full kind of, scope of what that looks like. I actually think that there will be a white paper written about what happened in Tech Square, and CODA was just a piece of Tech Square. But at the time that we had a lot of macro tailwinds and Georgia Tech and coming out of the recession, things that had started happening in Tech Square with, at Synergy, right? They had innovation centers and nobody even knew what an innovation center was, but it was like this building block that started growing. So by the time Georgia Tech brings this out, we had a little bit of insight as to like what this could be. And frankly, when we first started it, and this is almost kind of nerding out a little bit, you hear about like an ecosystem. I know you just had Birdsong on, so he understood because they were doing like this ecosystem of like a startup community, right? Or a tech community. And really, as you get into an innovation district, the ecosystem needs academia, it needs money, it needs startup, it needs big companies. And so when we started doing this and learning about this, again, there weren't a lot of examples even in the country you could go look at. Arizona State had something that started to go that direction. There was a project in New York that hadn't opened yet that was starting to go that direction. Sand Hill Road next to Stanford kind of went that direction. It was Capitol, across the street from Stanford, but not all the way holistically. And so for us, the ability to kind of take this, listen to what Georgia Tech was saying, study it right outside of just office. And that's what drove the design, the aesthetic and the L shape and this, communal core was really a space to kind of bring everybody together in. So that you could have these like sporadic interactions and ideas may get shared and sparked. So this was the whole thesis of all this. But out of this, for us and for the city really, created as the city had a lot of tailwinds anyways, just this environment that was unique. I bet alongside with Georgia Tech's got an economic development, team, and there's a guy by the name of Greg King that kind of leads that team. He and I were side by side through this, and I would tell you that this wasn't even leasing of office space. This was economic development of telling a story of the city of Atlanta and the talent of Georgia Tech. And so it was just, it took on every level kind of, this wasn't a public-private deal from a typical sense of public-private, but this was a public-private kind of partnership of bringing together a major university and a developer to really make this happen and tell the story. And then out of that, we were able to do, ended up doing a build to suit for Anthem next door, which is just to the right. And so Anthem came to us. I got a phone call from a friend, from a broker that said, hey, we're working with a company. They're looking at kind of rolling up their whole tech. So a lot of innovation centers, which you may know that were in Tech Square, weren't necessarily tech companies, right? Georgia Power was there. It was groups that were looking to, as the economy was changing and coming out of the recession, they were looking to tap into, every company kind of became a little bit more tech focused. They had to understand that. So innovation centers were there really for a piece of the business, even if they weren't tech companies. So a guy calls me and says, hey, I don't even know if he told me it was Anthem initially or not. A company's looking to roll up. They've never done this before. Anthem owns a bunch of companies, right? So just think about them as a big corporation. They want to roll up all their technology groups that support that organization. And they're running a multi-market search as to where they'll go. And they think if Atlanta's on the list, they think they only want to do it if they could do it in Tech Square. I mean, that was kind of the power of Tech Square.
Wow.
Right? CODA wasn't open yet. It was just people started to see the makings of what that could be. And so I said, okay, let's talk. So we sit down. I actually went to dinner with them, and they said, what you're doing at CODA looks like what we want, right? Being in Tech Square, that's what we want. Well, part of, again, back to this thesis of Georgia Tech and the ecosystem, one of the commitments we had made to Georgia Tech was we will fulfill what your vision is, which is really have a lot of companies in this building that you can interact with, not one. And this is a very hard thing. So I'm sitting across the table from somebody that wants to lease 350,000 feet. And I'm like, I can't do it at CODA, right? That's not the thesis. We're building this for something different, and it wasn't for you in Georgia Tech, right?
Yeah.
But SunTrust had a retail branch next door. At the time, that's all that was on the site was a SunTrust retail branch.
Wow.
And
like a surface lot?
A surface lot.
Yeah.
So I was leasing SunTrust, right? So corporate real estate is who I interacted with. And I said at dinner, I think we could buy the site next door and do a build to suit if that's something you guys wanted to explore. To be in Tech Square, you'd be next to CODA, so you get the interaction. And that's really what started the conversation. I called my contact at SunTrust the next morning, who's now actually our COO. And I said, hey man, I kind of promised that we'd be able to buy your site last night. I'm assuming you would sell it, right? And he's like, yeah, we could work something out. So that's how all that came about at Anthem, which is Anthem Tech Center, which is 740 West Peachtree. And then a few years later, they ended up, because again, the city was just on fire at the time. Yeah. Anthem said, let's go ahead and do a second building. And so that's what created 712, where they leased 85% of it originally, and then ended up giving back a couple floors so we could go lease Microns in the top of that building now. So that was like this whole Tech Square magical story that's
a magical story.
It was.
What a good run.
Yeah.
And CODA's still doing well.
Amazing.
A couple of good leases.
But what I was saying on like the city and state perspective, and again, way more than just Tech Square, way more than just CODA, but what came out of that and what Greg and I did, aside from the economic development of it, as companies were coming in, I bet he and I have met with somewhere between 20 and 30 cities and universities that tried to replicate this. It's hard to replicate just because of all the layers of kind of leadership and cooperation you need at a city perspective, at a state perspective,
and just timing,
at a university perspective, timing. It's this hard thing to replicate.
Yeah.
But because there are things that I don't know would have happened, but for what was happening kind of with, in the mid 2010s around Tech Square and with Georgia Tech and with the whole economy kind of shifting to technology. And as I look out now, Hyundai's now got a bigger relationship with Georgia Tech. Does that plant outside of Savannah happen but for kind of what was going on here at the time? I don't know. right? Microsoft actually started at CODA in WeWork.
Wow.
And so they started with 60 people. Actually, we opened CODA and had our grand opening party in 2019. And we were negotiating an LOI with Microsoft at that point in time for 40,000 feet. So they had gone from like, hey, we really like Atlanta. We think we're going to grow a little bit more. And
when did it turn into 500?
Like insanely quick. So
like,
it was
actually,
so it went from kind of every phase of a conversation. I actually think it started at 20 and then grew to 40, but kind of at every phase of the conversation, Microsoft would have somebody new come to the city. And by the way, behind the scenes, I'm sure they're already talking to the city about what they may be doing bigger, but not to the scale that it got to, at least initially. And every time they came, it was like, there's a lot of good stuff happening in Atlanta. They'd bring somebody else back and the requirement would grow. So it went from like 20,000 feet to 40,000 feet to 60,000 feet to 80,000 feet. I got a call and they're like, hey, we're 120. I'm like, I think we can do 120. I mean, it's getting tight now.
Yeah.
I think it outgrew us at like 180 and then went to 300 and 500.
Wow.
And so it was just a lot of those types of things that were happening here that it wasn't, I mean, you can never kind of pinpoint one specific thing that changed, but what was happening in Tech Square, which CODA was a very important piece of, I think rippled to the city of Atlanta. I think it's probably rippled to the state. I suspect the economic impact of that is in the billions. I know the economic impact between what would be...
Yeah, you got Norfolk Southern.
Yeah, Norfolk up to 10th Street.
Yeah.
Right? So we started CODA in 2016, between 2016 and really like 22.
Yeah.
Right? It was like $2 billion of real estate that got invested in there.
Wow.
So that's just from a real estate perspective. So ripple that out.
Yeah, all the companies.
On jobs and it's huge.
It's amazing.
Which is why all these other cities were come in and try to replicate and meet. And we've met them. And I mean, we're always very open about it. It's a hard thing to replicate. So this has been...
That's a special project. Hey guys, I just want to take a second and thank today's sponsors. This episode is brought to you by USA Cabling Technologies and Solutions. Alex Morris and his team are just the most incredible partners. They've helped us get our studio going here. Anything that you need for low voltage or audio visual needs in your own build outs or office suites, they are just A+. So if you want to learn more about them, you can go to their website, usacablingtech.com. Again, that's usacablingtech.com. Now back to the show. Okay, the spiral staircase.
Yeah.
Wasn't that is it still the tallest? Or did it have
We say it is. I don't know if
okay, got it. This is a marketing
It
thing.
was.
Okay,
no,
okay,
it definitely was. I don't know if it still is.
Okay.
Yeah, so the whole staircase, the idea of staircase came from, so again, like when we're studying this and how do you create this?
Let me bring it up.
Yeah,
People haven't seen it. There's a spiral staircase. How tall? Like
it goes from 5 to 22. So 17 floors. It's probably 12 and a half. Yeah.
That's not it.
That's not it.
No.
You can go CODA spiral. That's it.
There we go.
Go to the next one. All right, so zoom in.
Oh, and you got a Portman logo right in the middle.
So this is so again, like the uniqueness of this, right? So so the idea of the spiral staircase and kind of the centerpiece was you really wanted to create these spaces that a researcher could be in with an industry partner, right? And just to have kind of a sporadic bump in, if you will.
Yeah.
And so we were studying this because this was kind of early in this space. And a group of us went to look at the Google building in New York. And it was amazing, right? I mean, this was an early stage of these were the companies that people were kind of looking at and understanding from an innovation perspective, how do you recreate that? And one of the things that we came out of that, this was early in the design, one of the things that we came out of that meeting with was the answer to a question of what would you do differently if you could do this all again, right? From a design perspective and build out perspective. And there were several things, but one of the things that stuck was they had staircases kind of all over, right? That were connecting floors. And he said, I would do more staircases because these staircases tended to be the areas where we're walking past each other and we haven't seen each other. And we're like, hey, I needed to see you. Yeah. I've got this idea, right? So that kind of that interaction is what really created the idea to do the big staircase that connected this building. And then we had to make it spiral because it was Portman.
Yeah. We had to make it look like.
Yeah.
It's
It's beautiful. And so, that was when Mr. Portman, that's our logo.
Yeah.
But when Mr. Portman signed his name, he would draw the spark on his signature.
Oh, cool.
And so he had passed away by the time we had opened this building. And this was not planned, right at the very end, right before we were about to get the CO, the architect that was a Portman architect, who's the design architect on the building, said we should put this is the last building that he's architect of record. We should put his spark up there. So that's how that came about.
That's his mark.
Yeah, it's his mark. So this is an unbelievably special building to us all.
I knew some of that. I didn't know about the spark. That's a really cool little Easter egg here. All right, so let me bring back the map. Okay, so that's like the Tech Square kind of story that outcropping. Did that kind of lay the groundworks for Spring Quarter?
It did.
Okay.
Yeah. So some of this is through a lens of, so again, think about, as I'm looking at the map. So when we started at Tech Square really is 5th and Spring, and it goes out, a block and a half maybe, right?
Mm-hmm.
We probably stretched it a little. CODA probably stretched Tech Square down to, 3rd Street, right? And then NCR stretched it up to 7th, 8th Street. But like you had this elongation that was coming. And so your main thoroughfares over to Georgia Tech are 5th Street and 10th Street.
Yeah.
And North Avenue as well. But 5th, 10th, and North.
Yeah, you got the park down here.
Are your big ones.
Yeah.
And so as we were seeing just this unbelievable amount of growth that was coming to Atlanta, to Midtown, to this neighborhood specifically, the 10th and Spring kind of quarter was a little bit of the hole in the donut. And some of that was because there was a 4-acre site that was operated by a funeral home. So that's what that was. And so that created the hole in the donut. Really, that was the biggest block that was the hole in the donut. So for us, the ability to continue to play into an unbelievably active Midtown, really kind of Tech Square, which you can start to stretch that Tech Square is now to 10th Street, right? I don't think people would argue with that. And to have the ability, this was a 4-acre site, to create what I think we're best known for, which are these vibrant mixed-use areas and developments and districts. That's really what kind of drove the interest to purchase the site. The original master plan was an apartment. It's interesting that this image is old.
The 3D isn't.
You got pictures now, right?
Yeah.
But the original master plan was residential, office, and hotel.
Well, let's see. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good one. So in the foreground, right there is where the hotel would be, just on kind of where this White House is.
Okay.
Just to the left of it. So the original master plan was those 3 components. We started the residential project, which made a lot of sense at the time. Obviously, just Midtown. Obviously, the funeral. We bought it from the funeral home REIT, which I didn't know existed before we bought this site.
Dude, funeral home. I have a client that is a funeral home owner.
Really? Are they REIT?
He's rolling up.
Okay.
I think he's, if not the largest, like the second largest private owner.
Yeah, this was an interesting acquisition. We'd go in and it was still operating, and they'd be like, "Don't go in room number 2."
Oh my God.
I mean, it was funeral home, right? Yeah. So it was like, "Hey, we got a funeral going on."
Yeah.
But it was actually a purpose built, right? This is actually next year will be so it was 1927, right? Beautiful old home.
Wow.
Beautiful. The tenant that goes in here, this is going to be amazing. This is going to be unlike anything Atlanta's got right now. Because
any announcement or time?
We're close.
Okay.
We're close.
Okay.
Yeah. But just because Atlanta doesn't have a lot of history, I mean, it's like Ponce is amazing for a lot of reasons, but part of the amazing piece of Ponce was Atlanta doesn't have a lot of historic buildings that you can walk in and appreciate character of.
Yeah.
This is going to have that. It's going to be amazing. But all of this is historic. The house and the garden is all historic. The driveway is historic. So you kind of had this 1 acre, call it, it's about an acre of, you can't really do much with it other than what we've done, right? You had framework you had to work within. But it's going to become the centerpiece anchor from a retail perspective of what all this will be. So anyways, the apartment starts. That makes a lot of sense. We were fortunate, going back to Tech Square. We had just sold the first Anthem building I don't think we had sold the second one yet, but we'd sold the first Anthem building to Blackstone. Maybe we were in the process of selling the second Anthem. The B Reed ended up buying both those buildings. And so that relationship, which had already kind of been established, it just continued to grow and evolve. And so we were fortunate, and they kind of had a view of Tech Square, probably not dissimilar to what Kendall Square was. Again, just at the time, the growth was amazing. And so we're fortunate to have them as a partner on this project to start this building in 22, right as interest rates started to run in May of 22. But it's amazing.
Tell me about the design a little bit. I've heard y'all kind of spared no expense on making it.
It's amazing.
Kick-ass.
Yeah. Have you not been in it yet?
I have. Yeah.
Okay.
I was told like the windows were like extra wide.
They are extra wide.
They're I don't know if there's other like little tidbits.
So the design architects, KPF out of New York.
Okay.
So they had done a few projects in Hudson Yards. And again, this is a little bit, tech was still right going through COVID, things slowed down in 20, kind of slow in 21. But if you call, like, then there was just this explosion again for a year of tech going crazy, right? And so we said, okay, Atlanta was still doing very well from that standpoint. We probably at CODA signed Cisco in 21 for 100 and something thousand square feet. So like we were seeing it in real time. So this building being kind of an expansion of Tech Square we've got to try to mix something that could attract tech, but also your traditional Midtown tenant is not, right? It's finance or legal, professional services. And so we went to KPF and said, okay, yes, let's do something really special here. At that point in time, Portman architecture really wasn't around anymore. So, but it's still all in our DNA as far as the creation of product. So KPF came, and I think by the time we had done this building, the whole industry had moved to, we got to have things feel like a hospitality. I mean, I think it was already there.
Yeah.
Outdoor space was there, right? We had just had the ability to do it a few times where we started to hone that in a little bit better. And so we went KPF on the base building, kind of design architect. HKS did all of it architecturally from there. But then on the interior, there's a guy named Michael Shue, who has now really become well known. But at the time, he was really coming out of, he started with kind of really high-end homes in Los Angeles and Austin. I think he did I don't know if you know what a proper hotel is, but a proper, which is amazing. And so he's got this style. And so we got him to do our interiors. You can pull it up.
What is a I was like, I know what a hotel is. I just don't know. Proper hotel. Any fancy spelling?
I mean, you can do the one in Austin or Malibu. You'll see some images.
Wow.
So by the way, you see this and you start to see some of our lobbies and you're like, oh yeah, that's the style.
Yeah. I mean, the industry's kind of like, you go to Galleria 600 or a lot of people.
I mean, everybody's doing it for sure. Everybody. I mean, look at like the windows here. If I could show you what that looked like in our building, there's a lot of similarities. But one of the things that we had done in the past when we were like, okay, we know office is moving towards the hospitality feel.
Yeah.
And this is not a negative towards anybody we'd worked with in the past, but we were trying to go that direction, but it still had a little bit of a corporate feel to it, right? We were moving it to a hospitality, but I don't even know if we were ready to go all the way in of like, let's really go hospitality, right? Mm. We've obviously got that in our DNA from a hotel perspective, but there was always still just a little bit of a corporate feel to it. So when we did this on the interior, we hired Michael Shue. We said, go all in on hospitality. So it feels like a hotel kind of at every level.
There you go. Okay. So this is like the amenity
rooftop amenity floor. Yeah. So what's happening here, and again, some of this stuff you kind of make up along the way. So we have down at the bottom of the building, we had a traditional retail space. And the loading dock elevator for that retail space, because we had to bring one up for them. We brought it up to the ground floor, and then we said, you know what? We don't know what this is going to be, but to bring the elevator up from the ground floor to the rooftop's not that much more money. Let's just create flexibility, because maybe we'd be able, we're creating this unbelievable amenity of a rooftop. maybe we could create a situation with the right kind of restaurateur partner where we could activate this rooftop and it not just be a rooftop that office tenants only get to see. Right. So we brought the elevator up. And so then when we signed our restaurant tenant, Chef Ito, who was the original chef of Umi, we went to him and said, hey, just an idea. Would you do an omakase room up here? Because he really loves the skyline because you get kind of a lot of trees because you're looking out over Georgia Tech. He's like, let's look at it. I'm like, well, we brought the elevator up. So we kind of figured out somewhat of how we're going to bring people up here. And so kind of right on the backside of this window, he opened a 16-person omakase kind of chef experience. It's amazing. So it looks different now because they came in and added some stuff to it. But anyway, so we had created this is part of our amenity floor, right? And so we had created this bar that was part of a amenity floor that honestly we were like, I mean, maybe this is like a catering bar. This is incredible space for a corporate tenant to have, a function in, and they've got a bar that they can have a caterer at. And then when the idea came to put an omakase room, which is right through this door, we said, why don't you run the bar too? So, now it becomes a special location where now the office tenants truly feel like they're in a hotel because they can come down and have a drink. We've got access from the ground floor where people aren't going to have to go through the office building to get up there. It's kind of reservation system. I kind of cheated a little bit off Jim and what he did at the top of Fourth with Moonlight of how they were going to bring people up and, keep it reservation based. We all learn off each other, right?
You should. That's a great model.
So anyway, that's where that's going to be.
Well, great. Okay, so Spring Court, y'all landed EY. That was big.
Yeah, Reed Smith.
Loft. Yep, there you go. And it's just, it comes up a lot. It's a great building. It's kind of the pinnacle of Midtown right now.
Yeah. It's amazing. So the windows, which you were asking about. So again, one of the things that KPF done at Hudson Yards was they did 10-foot instead of 5-foot panes, which you hear and you're like, it doesn't make that much of a difference. It makes that much of a difference. It's amazing. So you walk off and and then the spandrel glass is also clear. Mm-hmm. So when you walk off the elevator today, it will look different when the offices get built out if somebody demised it, but you just have a sheet of glass that's like, 10 feet by 12 feet.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Beautiful view.
Beautiful view.
Very unencumbered.
Yeah. We're proud of it.
Clean.
Yeah.
Okay. So tell me about Junction timeline.
Yeah.
In comparison, it was similar.
So it was similar. So Junction, we bought the site on the Beltline in 2000. I'm gonna say it was probably like 17 or 18, actually, with the idea of doing a hotel there.
And a little shout out to Cushman. Congrats on the Rivian.
Congrats, yeah, I loved it. So we bought this as a hotel site, and I don't know if you recall, but really this part of the Beltline hadn't even opened yet. It was coming. It was going to be open, but the original stretch of the Beltline went from Piedmont Park to it stopped just north of here, right? And so this was kind of this first 2-mile expansion. Krog Street was there, right? But not what it is now. But we thought this was like the neighborhood. I mean, it was more boutique than even what Jim ended up doing with Fourth. And we said, okay, the neighborhood, this is good for the neighborhood. We were way down the road. I mean, we had design and then COVID hit. And so it completely shelved the thought process of doing a hotel there. But what happened during that time was the neighborhood had matured. So we looked at it, again, just kind of skill set of being able to look at each site through a lens of highest and best use. And we probably got that skill set in the shop, right? Hotel, office, residential. And so at the time when we were doing the hotel, office really probably wasn't achievable down here because it was just the neighborhood hadn't matured enough. Well, by the time we're then coming out of COVID, and again, back to that window where tech just was exploding, this neighborhood really had matured to the point that we said, we think we can go do office here now. So that was really the impetus of Junction was coming kind of the collapse of the ability to do a hotel here, and then maturation of a neighborhood where we felt really good about doing an office that was very unique and different than what we were doing at Spring Quarter, right? That tenant base is probably different. Really, we thought, this neighborhood and East Side Trail is awesome, but even this is even different than a mile up next to Ponce, right? This feels a little bit more neighborhoody. The tenant base here from a retail perspective is a little bit more local, right? Ponce has been amazingly successful, but just feels a little bit more commercial now. And so for us, I think that was probably what drove Rivian. I mean, you can ask April what she'd share behind the scenes, but I suspect some of that they show up. I actually remember a lot of them were from Manhattan Beach in California. They showed up and they're like, this feels really cool and good vibes like we have at home. And so I think that was a lot of kind of what attracted there. So Rivian's there. They've moved in now to most of the space.
Yeah.
See if they take more.
Yep. That's good. They put a sign, aren't they on?
They do have a sign. I don't know the one at the top of the building's up yet.
Okay. Yeah.
Down low they do.
Yeah.
And again, we had this space on the ground floor that we thought was going to be office lobby.
Yeah.
But then during design, I was like, I don't know if we should build that as office lobby yet or not. There was a deal in Houston that was similar size that didn't really have a real lobby. So again, back to the vibe, we all kind of get ideas and, think through how we could do it and implement it. So we didn't end up building an office lobby here because we had an entrance and we thought the entrance made work. Maybe that's all we ever needed. And so Rivian's now, taking the ground floor space too is a little bit, it's not a showroom, but it's showy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do they have a car down there?
They do have a car down there and a sign. And
actually,
interestingly, this intersection right here is the busiest pedestrian intersection on the Beltline. I have no idea how this is the case, but it actually is like 20,000 people more than wherever they measured it around Ponce.
Wow.
And it's like 2.2 million a year.
I don't doubt it. I mean, every time
amazing.
I drive over there, it's like you have to wait a while to clearing to get going. But fantastic project. I'm really curious. So I know y'all, Brookside, y'all are doing something unique up in Alpharetta, burbs. We talked about that. I'm curious, like where else you see opportunity, and I know y'all are always poking around for new things.
Brookside is for sure happening. We'll break ground on that on the redevelopment piece of it in September. We bought it last year. I think where we are now, kind of in a cycle perspective, and from a development perspective, which is challenged right now, just given the interest rate market. And cost structure of some of these more dense high rise. I mean, look, I think today to build an office building in town, really, it's $1,000 a foot.
Yeah.
Maybe you can skinny that down a little bit, but that's
rents
the number.
Low 90s.
Yeah.
Maybe. Yeah.
But like what drives it, some of this is, I love all the asset classes, but office is unique because I feel like you get to tap into a cultural aspect because tenants make decisions based off who they're going to be hiring. So there's a demographic view of it. And so I think one of the things that started to change is as we were getting into this kind of you asked about the outdoor space in Charlotte, that was kind of early millennial impact, if you will, of like the workforce, right? But that impact still exists. And so what you see demographically is, okay, as folks move suburban, they still want kind of what they've got accustomed to from city. So being in a city. So really a lot of our focus today on the mixed use aspect is things like Brookside. Brookside's unique because there's an office component of it that is getting demoed to create, but really kind of, city center like projects that have a mix of hopefully office and residential and retail. And so Brookside's 320 units first phase, 350 units first phase. I think we'll end up with about 50,000 feet of retail, and then we're keeping one of the existing office buildings on the Greenway. It's going to be an awesome, to build off the success that North American had at Avalon. And so I think that was eye-opening for the industry as to how you could do things. I think, that's a hard thing to replicate, kind of like Tech Square is a hard thing to replicate, but you can get pieces of what that can be done and kind of pull that in. And so that's where a lot of our focus is today, are, these types of, call them suburban, but they're really areas that you can create kind of an urban edge, if you will, right? And so we're active right now in Alpharetta on that deal. There's some suburban markets outside Charlotte that we're looking at. We've got some stuff working in North Dallas that's, kind of fits that mold. So that's where a lot of our focus is right now on the mixed use aspects.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know Avalon, there's like bidding wars over the last couple of bits of office space.
I don't think we're going to get to that level, but
but they do well. I mean, there's place there.
100%.
It does really well for office. I'm curious. So Brookside specifically, I can't tell you how many office investors and developers I've talked to that are looking at something like a Royal Center or like they called it the fried egg, where it's like there's an office building surrounded by an ocean of parking, and
that's actually
when I heard that too, I was like, that makes a lot of sense. You can't unforget it. But to densify and kind of I don't know what the zoning or how the city saw what y'all are.
It's tough. I mean, Alpharetta specifically. I mean, I think again going back to one of the things I said before, I think one of the things that we're good at, and not to say that others aren't, is really good listeners, and I think we approach kind of all the stakeholders really through a lens of partnership, right? So we spend a lot of time with the city of Alpharetta listening to like what would you want to see and where would you want to see that? And so I think some of that, and Alpharetta is tough from an entitlement perspective for multifamily. A lot of these markets are tough from an entitlement perspective of multifamily. But it was really a very collaborative approach with the city of, okay, I think we can go create this. This is what you guys would like to see. And for the city of Alpharetta, it really kind of overlaid with what they were trying to do really on all of Brookside Parkway, right? They had selected Brookside Parkway as an area that they needed to lean in to create what is getting created there right now.
Yeah.
And so like a lot of things in life, it's a little bit of timing and luck, right? But then I think once we had a seat at the table, we were then very thoughtful about how we approached it to kind of get to where we are today. And that's really what we're doing kind of in all these cities as we're going to them. It's interesting. A lot of these, suburban, not just in Atlanta, really everywhere, a lot of these cities are now thinking in the same fashion of, it took time, I think, coming out of COVID. I don't know that this was a loss of tax basis from office valuations maybe going down. But I think finally we're starting to see a lot of cities say, okay, what we've always had, we may not always have on a go forward perspective. Let's go figure out kind of how we continue to attract and retain, people to be here as these office buildings that are the eggs.
Yep.
That's all they become otherwise, right?
Yeah. There's obsolete, undesirable.
Yeah.
And then desirable.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say they're obsolete. They're not too old, but it's just you might have like a grab and go, you might have like a little gym, but there's not a ton of unique features to the commodity office building. So
correct.
What's exciting? So Breaking Down, that's September of this year?
Yeah, it was Breakout in September this year.
Okay.
Yep.
Very cool. Any other projects you can share about kind of in the
early on?
Yeah, I don't.
Oh, let me think about that. We've got a lot going on this year. I think so. This year, I'll just run through what I think what we'll start this year. We should start. Part of our business is somewhat unique in that it's convention center hotels. So again, that just goes back to a little bit of the DNA of Portman, and those typically are very true public-private deals in the sense of, how you think about a public-private deal with public money.
Right. Like Signia downtown or Savannah Convention Center.
Yeah. Similar, right? We own a Hyatt in Salt Lake City. The Westin in Charlotte, which the family owns, was a public-private deal. I mean, this is back 20, 25 years ago. We should start next month on a new convention center hotel in Cincinnati. So that's a big project, a great project. We're excited to get that. It's been a great partnership with the city. Brookside, September. We've got a apartment deal in Pompano Beach, Florida that will start in September. Amsterdam Walk is the one that is
what's going
amazing.
on there?
Yeah. So we obviously got through zoning.
Wow.
Again, Mike Green in our office, who really kind of heads up our mixed use.
Let me bring it up.
Yeah.
I know y'all came out with some renderings. I know the neighborhoods had their own opinion, and
they do. Yeah. And none of these renderings are real yet.
Okay. Urbanize calls you controversial.
Yeah. But that's
it's
good.
An amazing project.
Amazing project. So this is a fine rendering from what we were doing from a zoning perspective.
Okay.
So Mike really led that. Mike's led a lot of it. He's led Alpharetta. Mike is an incredible listener. If you haven't met Mike, you should. So Mike, this was probably a 2-year process, right? Of really, I can't tell you how many neighborhood meetings he went to. He was sitting in people's living rooms, listening to their thoughts on it.
Yeah.
It was controversial for sure.
Yeah.
I would say lots of times zoning's controversial. I think some of the controversy here, interestingly, and there were some legitimate concerns. I think lots of times what happens in zoning is some people form opinions based on information that comes out that may not be accurate information. And so some of the controversies probably through a lens of misinformation. And I don't know that there's intention on that. As an example, one of the things, by the way, I live in this neighborhood, so I was like sitting quiet the whole time. But one of the things as an example was on one of the neighborhood meetings, and it was all done on Zoom. One of the neighbors said something about that as a part of this development, we were going to build a road that cut through Piedmont Park. And I was texting Mike and I'm like, what are we doing? And he's like, that's not true, man. I don't know where this came up from. So you had,
how you do.
Yeah. So you had some level of people being against it based off of what they thought they knew.
Yeah.
Right. That may have just been inaccurate. Anyways, this is going to be incredible for the city. This asset and kind of what we're doing.
Right, what it is.
Yeah. Yeah. The ability to go and create, call it on 10 acres, give or take, on the Beltline next to Piedmont Park.
Yeah.
And really kind of create this community village that just doesn't exist right now.
Right.
For us,
Local Luna was there.
Local Luna was there.
Yeah.
Fast forward in a few years, and we're sitting here again, and you're asking what's something of pride. This is going to be something of immense pride, right?
Yeah.
Of what gets created, just from an ability as Jim has, down around Ponce and Fourth, of like really having a direct impact kind of on the immediate neighborhood.
Mm-hmm. So what's timing?
Yeah. So we should, so we're designing it now. We haven't released any images. It's at this point really just residential and retail.
Mm-hmm.
We will start this early next year. So active design right now, which again, nothing's been released on the design aspect of it. That's real. That was zoning stuff.
If you need a place to show it off, we can.
Yeah, it's special.
Throw it into here.
Yeah. You want to break the news on that?
Yeah, that'd be great.
So anyway, so we're doing that. We're doing that at the start of next year. Again, stakeholders, partnerships. We've addressed all this. I think, one of the things that we did in connection with the city is making sure that we were looking at the right amount of and how to create real affordability as a part of this project.
Mm-hmm.
Not just on the residential side, which is what everybody knows affordability as, but one of the things that the city asked us to do, which nobody's ever done before, we're kind of figuring this out along the way too, is create a section of our commercial space, which again, commercial being mostly retail, which is affordable as well. With the real intent of that, of trying to create like space that, call it a maker space, right? Where they don't get priced out from having $60 or $70 rents, or now Krogs at $100, where you could really make sure that you had community space. And so that got built in. So this was a very long, not just rezoning, but collaboration with Halpern, who owns it, with the city, right? From their stakeholder view of what we needed to do in order to get all this through. And it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very excited.
Very excited. Yeah.
We moved nearby not too long ago. So this is we'll be benefactors. So thank you.
And probably no office here. At one point early, we had some office planned. I think one of the things that got squeezed down.
This would be a unique spot.
It would be unique. Yeah, it would be. One of the things that got squeezed down through our zoning approval was height. And so we previously had some areas on the site that could go a little bit taller, and those, we didn't get that through the zoning, which is okay. And so that really kind of took out the thought of having office, just because you end up with a little bit of a shorter structure.
Right. I feel like these little pockets do well for like a local architecture firm or kind of like more boutique kind of users.
Yeah, it's going to be amazing.
Well, Travis, thanks for coming on, man. Thank you for all the projects y'all are working on and impact you're having on the city and the Sunbelt.
Yeah,
so
good.
I guess we'll have to have you on, or maybe we come tour one of these projects
would
as
love to.
You get building out.
Yeah. Come see. Let's do it at spring quarter.
Sounds good.
Good.
All right, y'all. Well, thanks for listening. Yeah, thanks for listening to another episode of Sunbelt Developers. We've got probably another 8 or 9 episodes coming in this season. Thank you again to our sponsors. And as always, if you need commercial office space in Atlanta, give me a call or anybody at Cushman. We're here to help you. So thanks again.